welcome to Steam Feed TV. Notice I didn't say radio. Steam Feed TV. We're on episode 8, and tonight we have some really interesting stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about Google and Google getting into domains. I want to hear what the panel has to say about that. We're not talking about a big company with deep pockets. We're talking about a company with no end to their pockets. That could change a lot of what domains are happening and how that's all working. I also want to talk about the Supreme Court decision about cell phones. I think that's going to be interesting. Police have to have a warrant to search cell phones now, which is interesting, and how that impacts the National Park Service has issued a stop to drone use. Now, this is a temporary issue until they get things together. I think that's going to be interesting, and of course, we are going to put a lot of time into Facebook's little experiment. So let's go ahead and start, and I'm going to throw out, guys and lady, I'm going to throw out, what does the Google, do you think Google being able to, control domains and actually, not control, but you know what I'm talking about, as opposed to like Bluetooth, GoDaddy, that type of thing, what do you think Google can do with domains? Is that going to affect things, how they work? Jump for it, guys.
I think what took them so long? It seemed like a natural progression going from controlling domain search to being able to register domains. I guess it's kind of a non-issue. I'm sort of surprised it took them that long. I think it's going to be one of those things where it will probably see some. GoDaddy will see some losses in sales from that perspective because everybody's going to want to live on Google. But I think the downside to that would be just Google now having more information about anybody. And I think it just kind of points down the road of their ultimate goal of dominating the entire world.
I think it's a non-issue, really. I mean, they're like Jeff just said. I mean, what took them so long? They're a little late to the dance. There might be some erosion unless Google comes out and offers, just some kind of huge carrot to make people jump over there. Give it away free or whatever, just to capture you. I just don't see it as an issue, really. I mean, I don't fear it. Let's put it that way.
You don't fear it. That's a really interesting point. And let me bring up, before I say anything else, I'm sorry I forgot to bring this up. Anybody who wants to comment, go to Twitter and hashtag SFTV. I'm sorry about that. I missed that. But that's a really good point, Randy. And Jeff, you bring up another good point. What took them so long, and is it, they're big enough that it's gonna be what it's gonna be. What do you think, Jen?
Well, I think it would be great, anything that kind of adds legitimacy to the domain name game. Now that there's like .guru, .rockstar, whatever, it feels like we're a little bit Price is Right, scraping the bottom of the barrel here in the domain world. So I try to pick providers that I feel like are legitimate businesses that are of high quality, and there are a lot that aren't. So I can see people throwing their money towards Google because it's a recognized name and it's somebody that they trust because they've seen them around for a long time. And I'm no fan of GoDaddy. And there's super slutty ads. I wouldn't be any sleep if they lost some business. That's fine.
Well, let me ask you this. I think. I used to use GoDaddy. I switched a few years ago to HostGator, and HostGator's had some issues lately. Does the panel think that Google can offer a more stable platform where their sites are not going to have issues? I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, if Google Plus is any indicator, then that might be a questionable subject, because they always seem to be finding tweaks and making changes and doing things. That
I don't know that it's not necessarily just a condition of the web. I mean, everybody has. I mean, yes, there's some like Jen said, there's some shady operations out there that really don't have the juice behind them. But Google is always changing things, but they are always, everybody drops out and shuts off and clicks off, and from time to time, the benefit of a Google or a Facebook or one of these larger people is they have the depth, they have the A and B, D and C squads to pick up the thing and get it back in place.
And as a small business owner, the last thing I want to deal with is my site going down. So I will give my money to the person I think that I can trust to handle it. It's not going to go out of business in 2 years, and that would be likely Google. At this point, they've been in business for a long time.
Yeah, you can't guarantee that the lights are going to stay on 100% of the time, but I mean they do a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. They stay on, and they're pretty steady.
I just think that they should stop worrying about domains and start putting Google Fiber everywhere. My brother-in-law lives in Kansas City, and he's getting Google Fiber installed next week, and I'm jealous. Forget domains, get me fiber.
Yeah.
So this is more of a personal need than an overall look at Google, Jeff.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Hey, there's no problem with that. There's no problem with that.
We'd all like
fiber. Go ahead. Jen, go for it.
No, I said we'd all like fiber. That would be great if we all could get that. It's magical.
Yeah, well, what I want is, direct Wi-Fi to the glass. That's all I want. This 18.3 and 2 gigs is working like a charm. It's awesome. I want more now. You know how we are. You give us some, we want more. And that's how it works. So let's move on to the Supreme Court.
I have a question for you, Jerry. If you could have that implanted in your eyeball, would you? Are you that hardcore of a glass guy? You don't have to if you don't want to.
That's an interesting question. I would probably go for it.
Jesus.
I don't know why.
No judgment.
Oh man, that was a good interview question there, Jen.
I would probably because I wouldn't have to put these on. I could just have it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting question because I really believe that technology is moving so much. I mean, there's so much stuff that's going to be coming out that are going to blow people away. It's going to scare the hell out of people. If you think Google Glass is scaring people, wait till you see what's coming out soon. I think the things that you're talking about are not all that far-fetched. I think you're talking about something that's going to be here before we know it. And we're going to have chips placed in places that it's going to change things. And I don't have a problem with it because, hey, I'm old.
Some things that need
I
to
can
be
live
changed.
longer.
I hope those chips help me.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
I'll start calling you Jordy.
Well, I mean, seriously, I would think about it. Let's put it that way. I would not just dismiss it. I would think about it because that's a place, and I see having Google Glass how people are afraid of it, and a lot of stuff that's happening with it are displaced by fear and ignorance, and I want to move beyond that. So that would be something I would think about. Good question. So the next subject we want to talk about is the Supreme Court of the United States. It's now illegal for police departments and whatever they may be, law enforcement, to be able to search your phone. What do you guys think about that? Is there really anything that's happening there? I mean, they can really find that information.
Yes, there is something happening there because our phones have our entire history, our life, everything in it. It has our finances, our medical. I mean, we rely on everything. So just for a police officer to pick up the phone and at his will start looking through it is an invasion of space that they haven't ever been able to do before. So yeah, they need a direct warrant for whatever they're looking for. So
because
we're doing that.
We're talking HIPAA stuff. We're talking Fifth Amendment stuff. We're talking pictures of your kids and stuff on there that you may not want the public to see. So yeah, I think that's definitely a really good thing.
So they got it right.
Yeah, I think they did.
I know they got it right. I mean, of course, I mean, getting a warrant from a police officer is no big deal, but there is a a block there that they just don't have free reign to pick up a phone.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about it is that it establishes a legal precedent in a direction that I'm happy to see them headed, because what I've seen over the last couple of years in a state-by-state case basis is within certain states, employees having the right to look inside their employees' Facebook accounts. To say, give me your password, I'd like to look at your Facebook account. And legally they're able to do that. And this ruling sets a precedent that employers who are comfortable doing that are probably going to be losing that right in the future, or that's not the direction that we as a company are headed with the security of our personal data. So that while there are employers who can look at your personal data or can request that as a condition of your employment, that I think that they're standing on shaky ground now, and I think I applaud that. I think that's great.
I see a segue here coming soon.
What's that, Jeff?
I see a segue here coming soon from that.
Well, I think that's true. I think it's good, and as Randy says, it's easy for them to get a warrant, but it is a step. It's a procedure. It's part of let's make some kind of process here, and that's important, and that's what Jennifer was saying. Let's whether it is a real piece of the process, it still is there. So now, on contrary to that, being a drone user, I find it very interesting that the National Park Service has disallowed the use of drones in national parks. Now, what I find very interesting after doing some research and talking with some national park employees, what they're doing is they are not just, this is a temporary thing. And what they're doing is, I think, a smart move. Because what they're saying is, we don't really know how to regulate these. We do know that in the case of a huge national park, that drones can probably help find someone that's lost in the woods a lot faster than people hiking through the woods. But at the same time, we don't want people being harassed by it. And I think it's very a smart move by them, and this is my own opinion, by the National Park Service to go ahead and shut this thing down, and let's come up with a plan. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good deal. I think they. I'm a firm believer in our national park system. It is set aside areas for us to enjoy. Some recreational guy out there zooming by with a drone to photograph or movie or something like that without a permit, without some kind of documentation, to me is a violation of what I see as a national park. I mean, you go out there to enjoy the park and the historic and the restored nature of that environment. The intrusion of modern technology. Now, yes, rescue, emergency situations, certainly, but just somebody out recreating, that's a little bit different than having a Polaroid in their hand.
I mean, I think what we know of people is that oftentimes they're stupid. And we've seen this in national parks. There was a guy like a year ago that went like a monument, and he tipped it over, just like, oh, I'm a dude. He tipped over this rock formation for years. I mean, people go into parks and they do dumb things all the time. So if I were the parks board, I'd be like, yeah, we're not going to let you fly drones around here because you're like leaving your garbage out for the bears and stuff. I think it's really wise, like Randy's saying, to kind of control that environment.
Yeah, they'd be buzzing grizzlies out in Yellowstone with them or something, Let me get real close to them,
God, yeah.
Well, I just think it shows some surprising discretion on the part of the government. I'm shocked because they should probably have some sort of policy set in place before something bad happens. As shocking and as appalling that might seem, that they would think of something prior to something bad happening. I think it's good. I mean, it's an issue, but sort of a non-issue for me because I live on an acre of land in the middle of nowhere, so I have my own little natural park here. But growing up where I did, there was a lot of parks and stuff, and I used to go to them, so I can sort of see, I can see how that could be a positive thing now. To me, it's just more like, hey, I'm glad that there's some proactive things happening.
I'm glad to see that they're looking at it as a drone user in Gettysburg National Park. They've never bothered me. They've never given me a hard time. And I've never used it in a way that I'm filming people. I'm always filming the monuments and the landscape. And I think what they're understanding is that there are people that are using it in that capacity, yet there are other people that are using it in the wrong capacity, which I go back to what I always say, don't blame the tool using the tool. So I think it's a good move, and I think it's a smart move that this is not a permanent thing. They're just trying to figure out. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's good to see our government, as Jeff says, doing something correctly. But let's go on to this is the crust of the biscuit. Let's be honest. Facebook. I mean, Facebook is always causing issues, and Facebook is this, and Facebook is that. Facebook's latest escapade, shall we say, is the I call it the NSA experiment. And I really can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Apparently, Facebook has done some experimenting with people's accounts, unbeknownst to them, and doing kind of psychological experiments. So I'm going to throw it out there, guys. Jump on it.
Zuckerberg the dick.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, am I going for it? No.
Yeah, go, Jen.
Say something though, Jeff. You want to start?
No, go ahead. It's all you, Kane.
Woo woo. Well, I said on the pre-call that I think that it's a good warning sign for people to know that Facebook does whatever Facebook wants and does probably far worse than that that you're not necessarily aware of. I actually wasn't too bothered by it until you had sent the link out with Schulholz's article with this, he considered it to be A/B testing. And that's when I got really mad about it because, if I have a neighbor who was an alcoholic and I went and sat on their lawn and drank a case of beer and then the next day I sat on their lawn and read a book, I'm technically A/B testing whether I'm a dick. But it's still really an unhealthy, disturbing practice to engage in. So I don't think that it is the same thing as A/B testing to manipulate the psychology of users. And we were talking earlier about some of these users are young, some of them are vulnerable. I have reached out to people who are suicidal via Facebook that are in huge amounts of crisis, and it would not take much for any of those people to have killed themselves. They were right there on the edge. And I consider it really kind of fortuitous that they didn't take that last step. And the thought that they would be so cavalier about those users and their psychological needs I find disturbing and dicky.
So for you, Facebook gets a big thumbs down.
Well, I don't give them a big thumbs down for doing it because they can't. They have the power. We gave them all the data. It's our fault. And I think that it's good.
Great point.
I wouldn't give them a thumbs down or a thumbs up. I think like Jennifer said, that you'd be probably surprised at what they are testing and continuing to test on everybody and all the data. I mean, it's their corral. We step into it voluntarily and we give whatever we want. And when you do that, they know that, and they are just a brand to make money like everybody else. I would say they're kind of a unique brand in the social space platform. So. It's that. It does concern me that it's going on. I was not surprised to hear this come out, and I was kind of surprised at the way Facebook kind of bragged about it. They were real proud of the ability to do that. That is, instead of taking it somewhere and having an outsider or third party look at the data and do the research and stuff like that, they took it upon themselves to do it internal. Yes, we're going to do that, and then they use the results to try to lobby and get some scientific recognition for that. That surprised me, but we give them the information. I mean, it's there. I'll go back to what I say all the time. People start bitching about Facebook is this, Facebook tweet. It's Facebook's property. I mean, we volunteer to get in there. What we're
talking about here really is people that are sitting on this panel right now. We all understand that this is, like you said, this is Facebook's property. This is the way it works. This is the way it is going to be, and you don't really have control of it. When you put all your information on Facebook, that's Facebook's property. And whether they do experiments like this or not, and to me, quite honestly, the whole surprise was that people were surprised by it. It's like, really? I mean, come on. You put all these together, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn, do you think they're not collecting all your data? I just find it amazing. Now, Facebook took it a step further, but I don't see that any of the others are probably doing the same thing. Jeff, roll with it, man.
Well, I read an article, can't remember when it was, a couple of days ago, and it was a step-by-step process of how to eliminate Facebook from your life. And well, it was actually quite interesting because it said there's a whole lot more that you have to consider than just hitting delete from your Facebook account. I really had to take an inventory of how many accounts I have connected into Facebook. And so it's not just what I post on there, but it's the other social channels that are connected together. It's things like ESPN, it's things like Monster and Career Builder. I've got all of those connected to my Facebook account because it's easy just to sign in. You don't have to create a separate profile. You can just click, sign in with Facebook, and all of a sudden it takes your data, through an API into this other piece. And you can't just consider, I'm just going to shut off Facebook, because then you got to think about what other accounts do I have that are linked to that Facebook page. And so it made me really think about, well, geez, I've given Facebook a whole ton of my own personal data. And to me, it's not a huge deal. Like, I'm just online anyway, so whatever I share through those things, people are going to notice or see anyway. But I thought it was interesting about how much my information is embedded into Facebook and how much that has sort of encompassed every other aspect of my life. So when I saw that, hey, Facebook has been doing emotional testing or emotional evaluations on different accounts, at first I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then reading this article, I was like, oh, well, shit. They've got a whole lot more data about me than I kind of thought.
And I think, don't you think that the sneakiness of it has a lot to do with it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind of sleazy. But
no, you don't think so, Jen?
I don't think they're particularly sneaky. I think we're entirely too trusting.
I think, and too, you gotta look at this. You've been going. Every one of us has, I guess, most of us have a piece of plastic in our wallet. I don't carry cash very much. I carry plastic. I do everything on plastic. So I go to my local grocery store, and I scan my groceries get scanned in. Okay, and their CRM is taking that out of their inventory immediately. My card goes in there, and everything links back to me. So they know my purchasing thing. That stuff's been going on forever. They've been patterning me. So when I get a flyer or a circular or something in the mail or an email or something, it is tailored on my buying habits. That stuff has been going on. And for people to say, I'm surprised that people are doing, it's big data. We've been talking about big data for a couple of years now, and it's getting more and more.
I'm not surprised that Facebook has the data.
Here's my point. I don't have a problem with big data, but we are talking amongst the four of us who are used to this and understand big data and understand that everything. I think the regular person, the grandma that's using Facebook and finds and reads an article like that is flipping out.
Well, she didn't read the article, first of all.
Yeah, she didn't read the article, and she's probably not in the realm of what Jeff described himself as how much stuff he shared. I mean, she's connecting with a handful of people, grandchildren, and things like that, and probably just primarily sharing photographs and reunion stuff. I mean, but the average user out there, the ones that you need to be concerned with are the kids in Jennifer's daughter's age bracket and stuff like that are doing things out there that can be, I mean, not necessarily an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old, but even a 25-year-old, but can be affected by some of that testing, like Jennifer said. I mean, you could impact somebody who is on the verge. Now, the likelihood of that happening is slim. However, they tested 800,000 people. That's a big damn number,
That's a big number.
So, I mean, out of that 800,000 people, how do they know, what is actually happening in somebody's personal life? Because we all know that, there are a lot of facades in the social realm out there. People build up these facades, and they're not genuine or something like that, just to try to get along. So that's the real concern that I would have. I'm not really worried about, you know, my dad, who is 85 years old and has a Facebook account of the last year and a half or so and is having fun with it. I'm not worried about him being, you know, measured to sell product to.
Well, and I you know, in some of the articles I've read, they have also admitted to earlier doing similar sorts of research studies affecting the flow during political campaigns. So it's highly likely that Facebook has already influenced the outcome of an election that we've had and nobody even knew.
Oh,
yeah.
It's also highly likely that we're all sharing a great deal of medical data on Facebook. I'm getting tested for so-and-so, or I've been trying to quit smoking, or blah, blah, blah. Well, if I was an insurance company or a medical service provider, I'd want to buy that data. And
they're buying it too.
Yes. And decide what kind of benefits they get based on this information they're disclosing. I think that that's the kind of stuff that people are just barfing out into the universe with no idea that there will be repercussions, because that is valuable, valuable information that people would pay top dollar for. I don't know why they wouldn't, and I don't know why Facebook wouldn't give it to them, because they want to make money.
I don't mean to laugh, but I see some stuff on Facebook that's like, when you talk about medical data, like, you know, I see some stuff that comes out on Facebook that's like, dude, way too much information.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Jennifer talks about making money. You know, Facebook is not unique in that. I mean, Target does it, Macy's does it. I mean, they collect that data on you and they sell it to data brokers right now. I mean, they're gathering.
The grocery stores are the first.
Everybody does that right now based on purchases. I mean, you know, they sell it now. You know, the medical profession or the law profession and stuff like that, that's kind of off limits. But as far as purchasing and entertainment and likes, that stuff is flowing every time you punch a button, swipe a card, or buy a ticket.
And I think that the problem is people think that when you do that, that's a transaction, so we expect that to be tracked. Facebook is free, and I participate for free, and I give data for free, so this freeness about it means that it all should be respected. Like, that doesn't even logically make sense, but yet I think people are like, no, but it's just a place where people hang out. And then Facebook just loves the world so much that it created a giant platform for us all to hang out and love each other. And nobody's really ever questioning, like, why would they do that? Why would any company ever do that?
I go back to, that's us. We see that. But the average Facebook user is not seeing that.
So Facebook has the ability to put positive things into my feed, and my feed makes me feel better, and therefore I will be more likely to spend money with the advertisers that are over on the side, right? So I mean, you know, that it's a manipulation thing. And you need to be aware that those things are going on. I mean, it's just that's where advertising has gone to. If
you're posting all the time, oh, I've had a horrible day, I'm going to go buy myself a donut. Don't be surprised in the future if you say you have a horrible day and a donut ad pops up. Like, that's not outside the realm of possibility. That's smart for donut people and Facebook.
What's going to be surprising if you go, I've had a horrible day, I think I'll go buy my donut, and you look over to the right and there's a Dunkin' Donuts ad right there. It pops up right in front of you.
Donut drone comes to visit your office. That'd be cool.
Randy's probably getting all kinds of bourbon ads on his site over there.
I do get bourbon ads because I like those pages, though. I mean, you know, it has to do with your likes and conversations.
I buy a lot of photo equipment. I get photo stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I write about certain other things outside of the marketing world, and you know, my likes are there. I get a ton of that, but some of it, to me, I mean, people get offended by that stuff, and they go, oh, this spam and all. Yep. Just look through it, or block it, or do whatever. I mean, it's going to be there. You can't. And if you're really having a hard time with it, then go do something else.
Yep, I agree. Jeff, we got 1 minute. Take us out.
Well, I think Zuckerberg.
No pressure.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's appropriate for that line of the social network. You know, he's not trying to be an asshole, or he's not an asshole. He's just trying to be, and I think maybe he is. But I mean, honestly, look, Randy's right and Jennifer's right. You know, the big data wins all. I'm not surprised by this. I think, you know, he's going to have to fight Google out for the supremacy of the world, and ultimately they're going to. I think when when the world ends and the final song is sung, it's going to be Google and Facebook, destroying the rest of us.
Okay, so quick question before we go. Who would you rather have all your information, Google or Facebook?
They already got it, so it doesn't matter. Both of them. It doesn't matter.
No, we passed the point of no return a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, what all the credit agencies
So it
have.
don't matter.
Everybody.
How about, okay, let's put it this way. Google, Facebook, or the government?
They had it too, so it doesn't matter.
Actually, I think
they probably have more.
Facebook have more than our government, more than most governments in most countries. Facebook has more data on us.
Yeah.
More data on us.
I mean, it comes down to, if you're living a clean life, in other words, you're not harming anybody and you're not doing any kind of crime, and you're not cheating on your taxes or something like that, you really don't have anything to worry about, I think. Now, you can, in this day, get a false identity type thing happening to you. Just be protective of that. But it's the idiot that gets on there and confesses that he did something. I mean, I know y'all have seen this idiot in this evil person in Atlanta on trial, right, or fixing to go to trial, that he left his baby in his car that died. They exposed him today. This guy had a double personality on social media sites. He'd been sexting with like 6 or 7 girls and having affairs and admitted it and all kind of crap. I mean, so he left a trail. This guy, I mean, what I heard today, he's guilty as hell. I mean,
Look at the guy who robbed the house and logged into Facebook, forgot to log out. I don't know if you guys saw that one. That was a big one. And then what happened was they went to the computer and this guy had logged into Facebook. So. All right, folks. Well, again, the panel has given me some insight and more things to think about. And we want to thank you all for joining us, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, folks.